So today we're going to talk about a very small cap crypto coin, which I typically don't do. However, based on some of the things that I've seen, it looks very interesting. We'll talk about that in a second. 6 days a week, tip tool coin analysis. We're going to do a coin analysis today. We're going to dive into, 5 different categories. First, I have to say, I'm a big dumb animal. Don't do what I do. Informational purposes only. We're going to look at the crypto itself, the company, the founders, the token, and then some projections and how to purchase it. I always have to say, I purchased some. Not saying you should, but it's interesting to me. So, BankSocial came across my radar. If you watch the show, usually every evening, I do specific episodes for HBAR and ICP. I should say Hedera. And Hedera was talking about this BankSocial company, which I found very interesting. And they had chosen Hedera. And the reason I pointed it out was because they chose Hedera because of the fees, the predictable transaction fees. Because Hedera allows you to have a specific transaction fee in US dollars, like 0.0001. And then they just determine how much HBAR you need to pay it. So they're getting specific fees. But what I found very interesting, I started to dive into this BankSocial, went to their site, looked around. That's what we're going to talk about today. So if you look at it on CoinMarketCap, a total of 20 billion. Their fully diluted market cap right now is less than $10 million. So if you wanted, theoretically, you could just buy them. All the coins. So BankSocial is a leading, here's what they say. I'm just going to skip some of the rigmarole. They offer individuals and enterprises a comprehensive range of financial solutions. Fine. Self-custody crypto exchange, streamlined user verification. You might be thinking neither of those are a big deal, but let's see how they apply it. Asset-backed lending and more. Okay, those are basically the 3 things that they're doing. Now, let's take a look. Here is what got me interested. They've signed up 28 credit unions. Talk about that in a second. Accessing 2.5 million credit union customers. So here we are at BankSocial. This is what they do. Credit unions. They are essentially providing, let's just call it a white label solution. Going to credit unions saying, credit unions are mainly fairly small because they are not for profit. Maybe small in terms of overhead. Maybe not due to their size. They may not have the technology backing and whatnot and the money to put into like some of these larger bank chains. So they say, hey, we're going to provide this for your customers. We're going to provide your customers the ability through your credit union to buy and hold self-custody crypto. And here is the data. The data is clear. Roughly 30% of credit union members are already buying crypto. That's what they found in some study. It's really easy to implement because essentially they're the white label. It's going to look like their credit union, but it's all going through BankSocial. You can buy, you can sell. And then when I was talking about the verified, well, of course you have to do make sure everyone, know your customer, KYC. They have that solution as well. So they're implementing that for the credit unions. So the credit union theoretically doesn't have to do anything other than sign with them, integrate this into their current app or website, and the back end will be taken care of by BankSocial, and the credit union will have a new revenue stream. And generally speaking, all of these customers through the credit unions will be using BankSocial's exchange, and those fees that will be shared, I guess, by BankSocial as well as the credit union. Sure, they could go somewhere else, but how many of us, if we're or most people, if they're stuck in one, or I shouldn't say stuck, but if they use one banking, one company, maybe it's Chase, they might have their credit card, they might have their checking account, and they might do use a lot of the services through that one particular bank or service provider instead of going outside. So it's possible that they're going to have a substantial amount of customers at their fingertips. That's just for the credit unions. Now they do have solutions for the individual. I don't think that's all that interesting because what's interesting about the credit unions is once they sign them up, they're signing up one customer, and that one customer is providing them with 500,000 people, 1 million people, whatever the number is. Then businesses, they talk about their crypto exchange and hard money loans. They get into lending. Okay. So we know generally what they're providing, for the most part, solutions for credit unions, and then those solutions that those individuals would get, an exchange, a wallet, and they can do it all within their credit union. And then, and I always talk about one reason why I like something like a Coinbase, because it's easy, it's simple, and the vast majority of people, when we start onboarding people, more and more and more people, they're going to be becoming less and less technical. So if they're on their credit union and they see that they can just easily buy a crypto right there and move the money from their checking to buy the crypto, they probably would do that rather than setting up a crypto account somewhere else, figuring out how to send the money over there. You get the idea. So they may have these customers and they may own those customers for quite a while. So let's talk about essentially the tokens. They did something very interesting. The BSL DAO. They created an LLC. This is unrelated to whether or not this company is going to thrive or not. But in Wyoming, they created an LLC, and their operating agreement, instead of being your typical print out an operating agreement, I used to be an attorney. I mean, I am. I just don't practice anymore. They're pointing to smart contracts and everything on chain, as the people holding the tokens will be voting, and then those will essentially be amendments to the operating agreement depending upon what they decide. I think that's fascinating. The other reason they did it was because they said, well, we have to have an entity so that we can actually have a lien against an asset. Something has to exist. It's not a bunch of coin holders. It has to be this LLC. So you can hold the crypto. They've got a website. You can see what everyone's talking about, and you can basically help govern this bank. It's like owning a bank. It's like being on the board of a bank. And then through this, I believe they chose 5 people. I can't remember what they called them, but those 5 individuals are the ones that will approve potential loans. Okay, so let's get to that. They started with, and this is what they're doing at the moment, providing lending to business customers because the regulatory environment is different than consumers. So the BSL token, as it is traded back and forth or moved around, it has a high slippage amount. I believe it's 4% that goes into the DAO, and they can use that for future lending. And when someone takes a loan and pays back the loan, part of that interest goes into the DAO, but the rest of it goes to the token holders, those that are staking. So you can essentially govern a bank. It's like owning part of a bank, governing the bank, deciding on things if you want to, staking and receiving interest from those loans that are out there. Now, let's talk about the other reason I wanted to look at them, and this is what got my attention as well, is they show their team. So yeah, there's a group of people behind this, and I believe it's John Wingate, CEO and founder. I've seen at least 2 interviews with him. Very smart individual, has a programming background, knows what he's doing. If you hear him speak and you watch the interviews, you'll be very impressed. So when you look at something like this, you want to know, are there people really behind it? Okay, what is their mission? Do they have a niche? They have a niche. They're going after credit unions. They've signed a bunch up. So they have a management team. They've got a niche. The tokens themselves, let's talk about that for a second. It's the BSL token. As we saw here, it has a total of 20 billion. All right, the price is only 0.00030 and a 4. But let's look at the tokens themselves. They have 10 of the 20 billion is on, they started on Ethereum. I think they were also on the Binance chain, but they moved that all, and they moved it over to Hedera. 10 of the 20 billion is on Hedera. One of the interviews he talks about, could they move it all Hedera? They could, but at the moment they're not. I think the DAO and people would have to vote on whether or not they want to do something like that. Another individual pointed out, well, there's a lot of liquidity on Ethereum, so at the moment you can buy it on either of these. They are fungible. One on this network like Hedera is the exact same as one on Ethereum. The pricing could vary a little bit, but just like anything else, that can happen. So I did buy some, and I bought it. I wanted to buy it through Hedera. So I'm going to talk about later today this Hedera wallet. There's a Hedera wallet you can use. Hashpack. When I purchased it, there was some slippage, and you'll see here, notice it says BankSocial. Even though the token is BSL, when you search for it, if you're using this hash pack, you happen to want to do it. I just like to use new things. I just bought $500 worth, not a big deal. Searching for the token BSL won't find it. You got to type in BankSocial. Just type in bank, hit enter, it'll come up. I am not suggesting you buy this at all. I'm impressed. I think the management team is interesting. I think the way they've implemented this new financial is interesting. To me, they're sort of bridging that gap between something like an Aave that might be a little confusing for people, even businesses. And they're sort of putting a layer between it because this is asset-backed loans. You're going to have to put up crypto to the businesses in order to receive those loans. They've got a team and they've been executing and they have a niche. Now they're not on many, I think they're just on Uniswap. And of course I bought it just through the Hashgraph wallet. So the price is extremely low. The market cap is extremely low. I just bought it for the fun of it. However, one thing I wanted to point out is that when I look at, and I think when you look at different crypto, you need to see, do they have something somewhat unique? Now, maybe like asset-backed lending isn't unique, but their approach and who they're going after, a white label solution, which allows them to own those customers across all of the credit unions that they sign up, is very unique. And a $10 million market cap, why not? I would much rather I've got my large buckets of crypto, I've got my medium buckets, I got my small buckets, and I don't deal with meme, but this is really low market cap. So instead of dealing with memes, if I come across these sort of things, I'll just throw a little bit of money at it. Who knows? Let's see what happens. Thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful. Please do like and subscribe. Have a great day. And I hope we can all make generational wealth together with crypto.